All
Hello,
right, go ahead,
sorry.
Danielle.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for your patience. I know we're running just a couple minutes behind this morning. This is Danielle Gray, I'm the Executive Director for Ohio Recovery Housing. I want to thank you for joining us for our webinar on ORH certification and using our new online RHOADS portal for submitting your application. I'm here today with Jake Hammond. He is with Mighty Crow. They are helping us develop this RHOADS portal, and so he'll be running the training today. Just to kind of frame this, all we're going to be talking about today really is how to get your application into the portal. If you have questions about standards, about certification, about other things, we are happy to answer those offline. But today we're really just focusing in on the technology component and how to get your application into the system. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jake. Thanks, Jake.
Awesome, thank you, Danielle, and welcome to all of you, some that I know and some that I certainly don't. As Danielle mentioned, the scope today is really about submitting your application in the new technology portal. We're in year one of this project, and it's we've launched it, and we're still actively working on it. But it's at a point where you can submit all of your materials, which is something we're excited to share with this community today. It should take about an hour, maybe 45 minutes or so to go through this. I also just want to make mention, if you've attended either of the other two previous training sessions, this is a repeat of that content. So don't feel like you have to stick around for that if you've already seen this or been successful with it. And as Danielle mentioned, if you have specific questions about measures or your documents or application, those are best handled directly with ORH. So with that, we'll jump into it here. Today's going to be a combination of kind of a split screen between this slide deck that is available to you, and we can put the link in the chat here, and then I'll be sliding back and forth to interact with the site and take you through how to do that. I will pause between each section. Please put your questions in the chat. If it's something that's relevant to the group, Danielle can voice those, and we can do our best to answer on the call. So the basic agenda, we're going to cover login and registration, the portal dashboard, the steps required to prepare the application, including your organization details, your dwelling details, how to upload documents, how to fill out your staffing details, and then finally how to sign and submit that. We also have a section of the site that allows for submitting active tickets if you're having issues, so happy to share that as well. So without further ado, jumping into this. The easiest way to navigate to this, if you're asking yourself the question, where do I find this? How do I even proceed? Is actually right from the Ohio Recovery Housing website. So I'll jump into that here. You'll notice about halfway down the page, there's a certification application button. And if I hit that, I get launched into this other page that has a unique URL with options to sign in or register. I know many of you have registered already and have actively signed in. I can see that by the activity, but just to show you here, if you needed to register, you can simply click the button and you sort of fill out a basic form and click to sign up. If you've already registered, you can navigate either this way or through the other button to log in with your username and email. Note that you will get an initial notification that says like, hey, thanks for signing up. We're thrilled you're interested. But I want to make mention that if you were to log in immediately, you'll get a pop-up screen that actually blocks you from going forward, taking any steps forward. It'll say awaiting organization match. And that is primarily because we have a pretty good handle on the number of organizations that are operating in Ohio, and it's fairly common that a second person might want to register and join an existing organization, and we're trying to avoid sort of duplicate entries. So the first step is actually to see that you will have signed in and that ORH actually has to take an additional step for that to happen. If after that matching process happens, so let me just jump back in here to show you, if I were to log in, a couple demo accounts here, I think I used this one. So if I were to log in initially, I believe what I'll see here is that, welcome to the portal, but you can't really do anything except log out. That's because we're waiting for ORH to do their matching process. Once they do that, you will receive another welcome email that has a little bit more explicit detail about the RHOADS portal, and it actually has a hot link to this slide deck. So in case that you lose your way and need to re-reference it later, you can click on that to see that. I'll also make mention that if there was a time delay where you've registered and then you've forgotten your password, like most web applications, there is a mechanism by which you can reset your password. Also, if you are an existing ORH associate, that is to say you've already registered with them or been certified in the past, your organizations have been automatically added to the portal, and you may be able to sign in without registering because you already have a user. Your email is associated with the user, and in that case, you would use the reset link to gain access after you've been confirmed and you receive the matching email. I'll pause briefly there. Does anybody have any specific questions about that? Or Danielle, is there anything in the chat that we need to address? All right.
I am not seeing any questions right now, but certainly, folks, if you look at your GoToWebinar screen, you'll see a spot for questions. Feel free to pop those in the question section. And as Jake's going along, if I see things, I'll bring them up to him. And then also at the end as well, we'll stop and look at all the questions.
Awesome. Can someone just put something in the chat to say that you can actually hear and see me and that I'm sharing my screen? I'd hate to get through this and realize there was no one on the other side.
Yeah, I'm seeing people say we're all good, saying hi.
Okay.
So we
Awesome.
we can all hear you.
Breathe a sigh of relief, exactly. Okay, well, awesome. Well, this next screen here, let me just jump back into my slide deck. This next screen here is just an example to contrast between kind of what you see here and then kind of what we're going for. I'm just going to take a brief moment to kind of explain the layout here. On the left-hand side, much like many web applications, there's just a simple navigation. But this primary dashboard is really this organization dashboard that's going to give you an indication of not just your organization's information, if you have a W-9 on file or your name and address, but also the status of your application. And then if you're in the process of applying, kind of what the completion percentage is by this status pinwheel on the right. There are 4 main sections to fill out or to get through with this initial application page. We've detailed those below: organization details, policies and procedures, staffing details, and then any registered dwellings that you have as a part of your recovery housing organization. Note that we use the term dwellings inside of this application because we realize even though we're talking about recovery housing, single family homes are not always the physical architecture that gets used. Sometimes it's apartments, sometimes it's townhomes, sometimes it's dormitory style living. And so more broadly, we just reference it as dwelling. Don't feel confused by that. We mean housing, we mean your houses with that. Note here too that you'll see a variety of different completion bars and progress bars. We've added some visual indicators to help you kind of guide you along your path, make sure that you're feeling comfortable with how that works in terms of uploading your documents. So let me jump back over here and log out. And I'm going to log in this time with an account that I've set up to help us do a test walkthrough here. Let's see if I can remember what I said. All right, so after this procedure has been matched, the first thing that you're going to want to do is prepare your application. And this is the organization info. And you'll notice here in the upper right-hand corner that I'm looking to complete 20% of my progress bar. And because there's really 5 steps involved here, just filling out and editing, verifying your org info is the first step in that. So you'll notice here that I have a demo organization. When you first log in, you're at 0s across the board. And you'll notice that there's a pencil right here next to organization information that has an orange, it's indicated by the color orange. Throughout the application, anytime you see orange, it usually means that there's something to be done, that it's not complete. We use the ORH colors within this, and the goal here is to get to green, as you maybe recall here in this slide. Back here, you'll see that some of these items have been already turned green. So I'm going to jump back into here and just show you. I'm going to click the pencil, and I'm going to get presented with a simple pop-up window. Again, we're trying to follow web conventions and some best practices. We wanted to make this as easy as possible for folks. So hopefully this should be fairly intuitive. But what we're going to do here, we're just going to add our information. Let's just say I'm in Test City, Ohio, and that's 12345. I'll just buzz through this quickly. Test.org, and then maybe my tax ID number. Note here too that I have the option to upload my W-9. It's not required for the form, but we do have an upload mechanism here. That was one of the goals of the project, to allow us to upload documents and share that with ORH. So if I've edited my, open this modal to edit my organization details, and then I click update, it's going to save that, and you'll notice here that I get depiction of that information. My pencil is no longer orange, indicating that I've completed this step, and then you'll see here that within application prep that I've gotten credit for that. So we're just going to continue to proceed along here. Let me jump over here. That's what this slide is explaining. And then once we do that, we can just jump right into the organization details. So the first step there would be to click update to edit, edit the organization details, and then I'll come back to the slide in 1 second, but we're going to click update here, and then this is going to open this slide out tray that begins to ask a lot of the questions that pertain to the measures that ORH has indicated are necessary for certification. Some of these are not, there's not a right or wrong answer. Some of it's really informational. If you've been through the process before, you may know that there's not an absolute way to run a recovery house, but there are standards that go with all of those details. So for example, do you have interior cameras at the recovery home? You certainly don't have to have them, but if I say yes to this, later in the process, you're going to be asked to upload a copy of your camera policy, so that you have kind of all your T's crossed and your I's dotted. So like I said, the answers here, you're just going to indicate which ones are relevant to your house. That may conditionally change some of the questions that we get, or some of the options that you're presented with. This is the first series of text boxes where you can add a description of your home. Where they're asking for you to share your mission statement. And so you would put that information here, info, and then my vision statement. And I'm sure many of you will cut and paste that from like either a website or other documents that you have. The same with a cultural competency plan. So add this here. And then once I have this entered, I'll just click Save Responses here at the bottom. And you'll notice here that as soon as I've done that, my organization details have been updated to show green, and then my application prep has proceeded to 40%. I'm going to jump back into the slide deck here and point out also that I put a tip at the bottom. It's been reported by a couple folks that they can't see the entirety of the form, that the Save Responses button is not visible to them. In those cases, we found that some of those browsers have been zoomed in to make the text bigger. And if you're not already aware of this fun little shortcut, if you hit Control- on your keyboard, you can zoom in and zoom out using the minus and plus keys. We found that corrects the issue in most cases. We are looking on the backside to see if there's a better way to handle that. But for now, if you run into the problem that you can't see the button, please just try to zoom in and zoom out your browser to see if that helps. I'm going to pause again and take a quick sip of coffee here. Danielle, are there any questions in the chat?
Yes, there's a very good question. Somebody asked, but once we upload a document, will we have the ability to make adjustments after it has been submitted?
Yeah, so that is a good question. We'll get into that a little bit in the policy and procedure area. If I were to jump back here, though, the only one we've asked for so far is the W-9. You can always upload an additional document to correct it while you're in the application process. So I could upload a document here, and it will effectively replace that file for review. The caveat with that is that after you submit your application and it's in review by ORH, we put a freeze on the ability to edit the majority of this content, mostly because we want to give the staff an opportunity to review the documents as submitted. It's probably worth noting at this point, I've worked with the ORH staff for a number of years, and I know them to be extremely patient and understanding and communicative, and so please don't feel like if you upload something in error that it's it's an automatic fail or it's the end of the world. They're really here to support you and help kind of guide you along through the process. So if you submit an application and then later you're like, oh man, I had the wrong one, or I sent the wrong thing, they'll be able to work with you to make sure that you have the correct info. That's really the goal all along. So don't feel like it's a pass-fail exam. They're really here to help guide and coach you through the process. Any other questions? All right, well, jumping back in here, the next step after we do that is to add your dwellings. And hopefully everybody can kind of see this here, but the first step is to click on Update Dwellings and then navigate via the menu. If I jump back here and I click Update, note that this is going to take me to the Dwellings page, which is also indicated in the left-hand menu that you can go navigate to and from every time. You'll see why we set it up that way here in a second. But when I click on this page, I get presented with an entirely new screen that is currently showing that I have 0 registered dwellings. If you are already certified or have been a part of the ORH process for a number of years, we've pre-populated all of your houses, so you should be able to just go into those houses and verify your level or update the name as needed. But if you're coming to ORH brand new, you just basically navigate to this page, and the first step in adding a dwelling is simply clicking the Add Dwelling button. Really meant to be intuitive. And all you need to do to start that is to just add a name. You just really need a placeholder upon which to hang the rest of the information. So we'll put that in here now. We'll just call it Test House 1, and I'll click Add to Organization. Before I do that, though, note that there's some helper text here that says, do you have more than 15 houses to add? You can request an import template. Again, we want this to be usable and friendly and kind of a pain-free process. So if you're like, oh man, I have, we're a big organization, I have 55 houses, it will be very tedious to go add those manually. Just reach out to us and we can get you an Excel spreadsheet template or something that might be a little bit easier for you. But I'm going to click add my house here, and you'll see that I have Test House 1. And now I can begin the process of providing the details required for that house. Much like the question about the uploading the wrong documents, there is an option here to delete that house. If maybe I've added a dwelling and I realize I added it twice, right? Test House 1, added that as well, and I'm like, oh, I don't need that. I can go ahead and click Delete House. It's going to warn you that once you delete it, we can't recover that data, but you can navigate that forward and aft as necessary. The next step here, I'm going to click Provide Details, and you'll see this slide out tray that kind of overlays on top of where you are. This is I would say a newer feature in one of the iterations of this software project, and we really felt that being able to edit the house information while you're still on the same page really helped folks orient, and we're pretty happy with how that turned out. Let me jump back into the deck here just to show you. After you've added the dwellings, which is what this has described, you're going to click Update to open each set of the dwelling information, and it's useful to know that this is a 3-part form. We first ask for basic information, step 1 of 3, and then we ask for services and supports, which is step 2 of 3, and then there's a couple final questions here before you can confirm those dwelling details are complete. So if you jump back over here, you'll see that this is step 1 of 3, and then I'll advance this form through as we click next, and I'll share a little bit more about that as we go through it. Pause briefly. Danielle, any pressing questions before I proceed?
I am not seeing any that are super pressing for right now. I am seeing a lot of questions around like our standards and things, and so I'm dropping in links to where you can find our standards on our website. Again, today Jake is really talking about how to get your information into our online system, which is a very important part of getting certified. So if you do have questions about the standards, more than happy to answer those. But really today, try to focus on how you get your organization into this online system so we can get you through the process.
Yep.
Thank you.
And just because you raised it here, I was going to cover it at some point. At the very top of the website, what I'm sure Danielle is sharing is this link to the review process measures, which are detailed at the separately by level, so you can review this information at your leisure. For example, if I clicked on level 2, there's a 42-page document here with a pretty exhaustive grid of all of the things that are necessary, and that's publicly available to you. To Danielle's point, I would encourage you to review that. Part of the reason why we've architected this application the way it is to help navigate a lot of the conditional questions that are in that. It's a little bit difficult to, I think, read that linearly and ask it, do all of these apply to me? I really encourage you to go through the application process in the web app that will help kind of guide that. So let me show some examples of that here. When I begin to add my basic info, one of the key questions is I have to choose my level of support, levels 1, 2, and 3. There is a reference to those level descriptions on that previous page I was just on, but let's say I were to select level 2, it's going to pop up, we call this a modal or a pop-up that would share all of the information that is relevant to that. And you really need to read this and say, hey, this home meets these requirements because it does all of these things. And I won't go through all the detail of that, but as part of the process here in the web app, you have to read that and then essentially confirm that you accept that detail in order to save that info. If you need to change that, you can certainly, switch this, but you can't proceed in the form unless you have indicated your level of support. You're also asked to indicate the opening date, so you have a calendar selector here, pretty standard. I'm going to just add some quick test data so we can proceed with the form. Note here too that it's also asking about dwelling type. And this is another convention that we've added here, but there's a blue magnifying glass here that if I click that, I can get some supporting info about, do I have a duplex or do I have a dormitory? Not sure that there's necessarily a right or wrong answer here, only that it helps the reviewers have a better sense of the type of facility and the type of operation that you have. So you can confirm that. And then let's say here I have, I don't know, shared apartments or dormitory in this case. And then I'm asked to enter my capacity. I've seen a couple questions come across the ticker about that. Adult resident capacity is really meant to indicate the people in the program that are participating in recovery housing and anything that you have that's level appropriate for that. And then there's a separate entry field that is specific to total capacity, knowing that some recovery homes allow maybe children or other folks to live in the house. It could be that you have 5 people in the program, but you actually can accommodate 8 people in the house. There are some standards around that as well, based on the number of people. We also ask for room counts, and again, I'll just put some dummy data in here. The one that really matters in this screen is the bedroom details. And so we're asking everyone to use the plus sign to indicate how many bedrooms that they have. And you can see that it adds this additional part of the form. Let's say I only have 2, but I've added 3 in error. You can certainly delete 1 using the red trash can. But what we're looking for here is like a common reference. That maybe this is the the upstairs large room, or however you refer to that internally. This information will be used later in the process for the on-site reviewers, just to help create a common lexicon or a common language around which room we're talking about. So assign your bedrooms names, please. That'll help us in the review process. And then we can indicate the capacity of each of those, maybe 2 in this one and 3 in this one. And then we're also asking you to add the dimensions of that room. And that matters because one of the standards relates to a minimum square footage size for the bedrooms. So once I fill that out, I can click next, and you'll see here that I've advanced to step 2 of 3 for services and supports. Note here that I have some forward and back navigation arrows that I can move through the form. This data does not get saved until I've saved all 3 steps. So once you get into this, please proceed through all three fields. We're just going to click yes and no. Again, more questions that are not pass-fail questions. They're really informational about how you operate your recovery housing. Support for medication-assisted treatment, or MAT, is indicated here. None, all, or potentially some forms. This is a single select, so it's got to be one of those. For genders, we realize this is a fluid conversation nationally, so this one actually has a multi-select option that you could share information about your housing. So add that, and then we'll click next. and you're almost done at this point. The last thing we're really asking for is whether or not it's leased or owned. This is significant because these properties require that the owner is aware that the property is being used for recovery housing. So if you click leased here, you have an option here to upload a file, and this is where you could upload that confirmation. Check with ORH as to what exactly they need for substantiation on that. I believe any form of written documentation to confirm that is fine. And then any additional notes that might be helpful to the reviewer could be added here to this block. And I'll click update on this one, and you'll notice that I see now I have a green button for this house, meaning I filled in all the information, and then my progress bar for registered dwellings has jumped to 100%. If I were to return to my org dashboard here, you'll see that I'm now 60% complete. My registered dwellings have bumped up to 100%, and I'm feeling good, like I can move on to policies and procedures. Note that you can add dwellings at any time up until you submit your application. So let's say I forgot one, I can jump back in here and I can add house number 2. We'll just call it house 2 test, and I can add that. And note here that it's dynamically been like, oh wait, now you're only 50% complete because you still need to provide the details for that house too. So we need that. I'm going to leave that there just for a second so we can proceed with this process. But pause one more time to see if there are any questions about dwellings or dwelling info.
I'm trying to go through all of these questions, and I think the most popular question that we are getting is around at what point does somebody get into this system and start their application? And really, this is for people who are ready to apply for certification. It is for people who have their program established, they've got all of their policies and procedures ready to be reviewed by our staff as a part of certification. You have your properties, so you know the properties are, you have the address, you have your proof of insurance, you have all of that, and the properties are furnished, ready to have residents move in, you are ready for certification. Now, if you are not there yet, we're happy to help you get there. You can contact our staff, but really this portal really is for people who are ready to apply for certification. So if you are not there yet, don't worry, we're still here for you. We want to help you, but if you don't have a property yet, you're not going to have any dwelling information to enter. That's okay. We've got other programs and services to support you outside of this system. And then I am seeing some questions here again that are very specific about the measures. I'm trying to answer those questions to you privately because I want this to focus in on how to use this system, so that way people know what they're doing when they're putting in the system. I'm sorry, and the other popular question we're getting is on if this is for certification or recertification. For all of you out there who are looking to get recertified, yes, this is for you. You will have to fill this out. And the good news is that once we have all of your information in here, you don't have to redo this process, every other year. We will have your documents, we will have all of your house addresses, everything will be waiting for you just to verify in 2 years. So for this certification that you're about to enter into, it's 2024, yes, you'll have to go through all of this, but in 2026, when you're re-upping, everything will be in the system. So I hope that makes sense. But we are transitioning everyone to applying through this, whether you're new or getting recertified. So sorry about that, Jake.
Awesome. Thank you, Danielle. Nope. Let me just jump back into the slide deck to just show you this. The documentation for this is here, and so you can see the screens that we just went through, the same detail that I just verbally walked through. So you have this for reference if needed at a later point. So now we jump into policy and procedure docs, which is kind of the next big chunk of this process. This looks like a kind of a busy screen. It'll make more sense after we walk through it, but step A, click update to begin document upload under policy and procedure documents. You'll see that here. So I want to go and I want to update this, and you'll get this comprehensive side tray that lists all of the policies that are relevant to you in your application. Just a couple quick notes here. I think I put a tip at the bottom of this one. If you open the screen and your first impulse is to mash the upload button, notice that you can't do anything with that until you begin to fill this out. So I would encourage you to start with your file. That's why it's in the upper left-hand corner. And let me say, hey, I'm going to go grab one of my files that has one of my relevant policies in it. I'm going to open that. It's going to add it to this screen. Maybe there's a note here that says that this is changed in 2021 for our level 2 houses. See page 10 for visitor policy, whatever might be relevant to that document that you want to share. And then essentially what the task here is, because we need 100% completion of this to process the application, you're really trying to fill out this bingo card of required policies. So if this was the visitor policy, I might indicate that by selecting visitor policy, and then I can click upload here, and I'll get this nice handy success message, and then you see a reference to the document I just uploaded, and then a note that it was part of the visitor policy. It applies to all dwellings, which I'll come back to in a second, and then you'll note that the notes I added here were also added. If you, let's say, have done this over a period of days and you added some documents and then you come back to it and you thought like, oh, what was that one I uploaded before? You can actually re-download that information and pull it back down and open it to look at it and say, oh, that was not just the visitor policy. Maybe that was our visitor policy and our emergency policy. And you're asking yourself, well, should I upload it again? My answer is no, you shouldn't. You can jump down into document types here and look through here and be like, oh, you know what, that also was our emergency policy, and I can go ahead and just append that information here with this existing document. And then if you're paying really close attention to the screen, hopefully it's not too small, you can see that emergency policy actually got filled in when I did that to indicate that you've provided it. And then my progress bar up here began to expand a little bit more. I'll just show you more by way of examples. Let's say it had included a couple other policies. You can see that this sort of option begins to grow. Let's say that document only covers those 4, and then I have another document, maybe it's this file, that is going to cover the majority of the rest of the policies. Maybe it's a resident handbook, or maybe some larger, it's pretty common for us to see kind of a comprehensive PDF or something that somebody has. And maybe that covers all of these other policies, or at least a good portion of those. And I've indicated those here. Let me just fill out most of these and upload that. And it tells me, oh, you forgot to provide a description of the file. And I can say, okay, this is our, sorry, not employee, resident handbook. Has most of our policies updated in 2023. Again, just any information that might be helpful to the reviewer. You can upload that here, and you can see that this document now appears first, and it has all of these document types that apply to it. And now I'm at 94%. I only have one more thing to do. The one thing that is holding us back from 100% here, I didn't select it on purpose, was this assurances document. Note that this one is a little bit of a special case, and you can see the example for that is actually linked at this with this magnifying glass under templates. This actually will open a different page, and you can see this is the really comprehensively written document that everybody should review from ORH. What's unique about this document is that it requires a signature and the stamp of a notary. So this is one that you're going to have to open and print and then sign in the presence of a notary and then scan back in for upload. But once you do that, you would follow the same process. I would click upload file. Let's say it's this one that says test doc with really long name that needs to wrap. I just wanted to show you how that works and say that this is my assurances, signed by notary, whatever notes that you feel like are appropriate. Then I would pick assurances and upload that. And now you can see that I'm at 100%. for all of my documents. In some cases, I think people are going to have individual files for all of your policies. In many cases, I think they're going to combine much like this. And note that this is fairly dynamic in that if you make a modification here, maybe I indicated something in error, I can deselect something and make modifications to those kind of as I go. A couple other quick notes. If you have a supplemental documents, we've gotten this question in the past. Let's say we would call it kind of other. This is a file that you think is useful to the reviewers, but doesn't fit with one of the specific policies that's asked for. You can describe that. Maybe it's a you know, I don't know, like a nutrition guide or something. I'm making this up as I go here, but let's just say it's another document that you want to share. You can just check this box if the document doesn't apply to any of the policies, and then that will upload that and then just mark it as other. So you do have the ability to add those documents. The only other thing I'll share with you on this screen is that we also recognize that not all policies apply to all houses, especially if you're running a larger organization and you have a combination of, say, level 2 and level 3 houses. You may have different policies and procedures that apply to different levels. So you have the option here to indicate which houses that you've loaded apply to the uploaded document. So in this case, let's say for house 2, this is, we'll just call it resident eval, specific to level 2, and then I can pick that and pick my document. Again, I'm just going to keep using these same test docs, but you'll have different ones. And then when I upload that, you'll notice here that the dwelling that it references does show that it is for just house 2, and that will enable the. Actually, let me switch this. I don't know why that didn't upload as resident eval, but let me fix that here. That will allow the reviewer to know specifically which policy it applies to. So let me take a quick pause here. I know this is a pretty dense screen. Are there any questions about this or other things that I can show you as it relates to the policy and procedures?
I did see a question, and so I do want to clarify this. The question was around if somebody has a handbook has multiple policies in it, can they just submit that once? And so just having Jake kind of show you again that little bingo card. For the one document, you just select which policies are contained in your handbook, and then you only have to upload it once. So just a little refresher on that. But other than that, I'm not, I did get a question if we have templates available. Yes, we do. You can reach out to us for templates and for other assistance in developing your policies as well. So.
Yeah, that's a great call out. Right now, this templates link only links to the assurances document because we knew that's what people would need. But yeah, future state, ORH has them now and can send them to you. But you continue to click on that. You'll probably see a pop-up with a whole set of different templates that you can download. The other thing I wanted to show you, just like with the houses, you can delete a file based on with these 3 dots on the side. So we could, if we uploaded a document in error, you could back these out and kind of start over here. Notice here that this is meant to be dynamic and meant to adapt based on the files that you upload. So let me see if I can get us back to 100% here. Test notes. Let's see, all dwellings. So okay, success. So now that I'm 100% with my policies and procedures, if I jump back over here, I can see that my application prep has proceeded to 70%, and we're ready to proceed. Let's see. This is just the explanation about the all dwellings, ways in which you can delete files, updating the progress bar, everything that we just kind of went through. All right, so the next step is staffing details. And this will bring us to 80% complete when we finish it, and much like the same convention. Again, this should be fairly intuitive, and apologies if it feels like I'm stating the obvious. Just want to get this information out here for everyone. We're going to click on update for staffing details, and this is a single screen. It's really just a long list of who's responsible for what that requires two things. It's looking for a document that has the position descriptions of your staff. Note that here it says, please combine position descriptions for all roles referenced into a single document. You can upload that here, and then it asks you who's responsible. So this may be different all the way down the list, but for the purposes of the demo, I'm just going to cut and paste house manager into all of these. I don't know how you operate your organizations. I think depending on size, it's going to be different folks. My understanding, and I'm not an expert on the ORH standards, but it really meant to allow the reviewer to really understand that you have someone doing these functions, and that it may matter less as to who it is or what their role is. I'll let them speak to that. But again, this is really not meant to be punitive or critical, but really to ensure that all of these things are covered within the scope of your operations. So once I've filled all this out and I've uploaded a test doc and I've filled in who's responsible for that, notice that I have the option here in green to save responses. When I do that, I get met with a familiar success message, and now my staffing details have jumped to 100%. I'm almost there. I can't submit my application yet because it says here, please complete all sections. Because I had added that extra dwelling and then I hadn't finished those details. I'm just going to delete this house out of here for the purpose of the demo. Note that that is going to mess up our policy and procedure docs on the other screen, but just wanted to have you guys see what it looks like if we're ready to submit, if we've got everything uploaded. You're going to get a screen that looks like this, that's all green, which was the goal state. And let me jump over here. You'll see that submit application is when you are confirmed all green, and it says ready to apply, and you have something that looks like, you can see Dan's Recovery Housing here on the right in hometown Ohio as an example is also ready to apply. And then once I do that, that's going to navigate me to the final step of this, where we have some kind of additional assurances or confirmations to confirm. Before I fill this out here, though, let me just jump back to Danielle. Is there any questions about the staffing details that I need to explain?
Yeah, I am not seeing any questions about that right now.
Okay, awesome. All right, so once we've hit submit, we get taken to this submit application screen. There's a code of ethics for NAR and an operator agreement that need to be electronically signed. Note here that these can be signed electronically. You don't need to print them and sign them and upload them separately. You can just document that here inside the web app, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So NAR code of ethics, I'll click review and sign, and I'll get this handy tray that pops out that describes all of the code of ethics that are relevant to NAR. Note that I can click on this, or there's a button here in the upper right hand corner that will allow me to download that if I wanted to see, to actually read that or take a closer look at that. But what I'm really looking for here is a digital signature at the bottom. And note that the text says it must exactly match my name. So whatever you've put in as your name when you registered, mine looks a little funny because I've got this demo text inside, but essentially once I fill this out and I type my name and it matches the name that we have on file, you'll notice here that you get this little pop-up that says you can sign it and close it. There's a date stamp that goes in the database for that, and we just kind of retain that on file. I would encourage you to just have your downloaded copy for reference if you need it. But if I click sign and close, you'll note that the application says, hey, you did it, it's complete. And we have the same process for the operator agreement. Again, this is a comprehensive document that ORH has put together that they can provide you in advance, or if you navigate to this part of the site, you can also just download it and review it at your leisure. But it also is asking you to sign digitally using your full name as saved within the application. We hit sign and close. That brings us to a complete status with that. There's a couple other certifications that you have to indicate. Note that there's only one choice here. You have to say yes to them. And honestly, I would say if you can't say yes to these and you need to address that, I would reach out to ORH and say, hey, I don't understand this question, or I'm concerned if I check yes, is this appropriate, or does this work? And that would open up the communication channel by which you can seek to remediate that and continue to pursue certification. But I'm going to indicate yes. It's free from requirements that waive resident rights. I'm going to click yes, that we're not trading, turning over EBTs or other benefits in exchange for housing. There is a caveat on that. There are a couple counties that that is a formal arrangement with Job and Family Services. That would be an exception to this, but generally speaking, that is not allowed as a practice for certified homes. Again, talk to ORH specifically about that if needed. Free of conflict within the policies are all fees that are being charged, or they shared in the resident agreement. Is that something that they can find? And then an attestation here at the end that relates to stigma and how you're holding the rear residents who are have a substance use disorder. Once I've indicated all of those items, I can click submit. And you will get this handy pop-up that says, hey, you did it. ORH is going to start reviewing your application. Stay tuned to your email for follow-ups and tips. And you can pat yourself on the back because you got to the end and you submitted your application, and you should receive a confirmation email that includes not just your name, but all of the houses that are on that application that was sent not just to you, but also to the ORH team, and then they can start their process. So with that, I will pause again. Happy to answer any questions and navigate, help folks navigate. Again, thank you to the community for your patience as we've stood this up. We're really excited about the efficiency and the possibilities here, but it is, as I said, this is year one of our project, and we'll be iterating on this and improving it for years to come, and looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, thanks, Jake. I do want, can you bring back our website back up? Because we did have a question about where to find this on our website. So if you go to our homepage, you will see the kind of right there, the big orange button, certification application. This is where you find it on our website. And then if you keep scrolling down at the footer of our website, you'll see our contact information. I am getting a lot of questions, things like how big are bedrooms? What are requirements for house managers? I don't have time to get into all of those during today's webinar, but I do want you to know that there are resources available to you. You can see our email, you can see our phone number, reach out to us. We are happy to answer those questions and help you develop your programs. Also, if you go up, I'm sorry, Jake, if you click on training opportunities, you can see all the trainings that we have available. There's today's training. We have an introduction to recovery housing training that is actually scheduled for July. Click the green button to sign up. That is a place where we'll answer more of these basic questions that you're asking. So go there to sign up for that. Then we also have our training video library and on-demand courses. So those are great places to get more training and more information, or like I said, scroll down the bottom, reach out to us via email.
Thank you, Danielle. Related to that, if I jump back into the application, or I'm sorry, the RHOADS portal for the certification application, in this case here, the demo has submitted, it says application pending. But on all screens, I want to also point you to, in the lower left-hand corner, there is a submit help request. And we've been asked, sort of, what's the scope of this? You can really enter any question you like here. It could be a technical question, or maybe you're reporting a bug, something that's not working as expected, or maybe it's a quality standards or a process question. This will get triaged and funneled to whomever on the ORH team is appropriate to answer that. So the topic, the question, if you have a preferred phone number for the ORH team to reach you, it will come through with your email address based on your login, so you don't need to provide that, but this is available to you as well within the RHOADS portal.
Jake, can you also, this is Kathleen, can you talk about the e-signatures for those two documents? They no longer, the code of ethics and the agreements no longer need to be submitted. The document is within RHOADS.
Yeah, I mentioned that. There's a tip. Sorry, the tip here in the. Oops. Too many things going on here. There's a note here in the training deck that says these can be electronically signed and don't need a separate document upload. We had a couple folks in the early stages go back into the policy and procedure screen and then upload a physically signed version. That's not necessary. You can just sign it electronically here on the submittal screen. All right. I don't have anything else to share today. We're right at an hour. If there are any last minute questions, happy to address those. But again, thank you, Danielle and the ORH team and all of you in the recovery housing community. I know it's hard work and a labor of love, so happy to try and help you guys as much as possible.
Okay. Yes, well, thank you, Jake. I'm just answering kind of one last question here privately, trying to keep up with the individualized questions, getting you your kind of private responses. But we really want to thank Jake for his time. Once again, our contact information is there, so you can reach out to us. We also have the help button within RHOADS. But we really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today. And yeah, we hope to get your application. So just to clarify, you have to register first before you can access the application. So Jake, if you want to clarify that.
Yeah. Like I said before, when you click certification application from the website that we were talking about, it kind of lands you on this generic welcome screen. If I am not signed in here, there's an option to register, which is this first blue button. Which is really asking for your name, your email, your phone number. You get to state your organization name here and then set a password and then sign up. And when you do that, the ORH staff gets an email that says, hey, we have a new user. And what their job is simply to do is to check to see if the organization that you're a part of already exists in the system. And if it does, they'll match you to that. And if it doesn't, they'll add it. And then either way, you'll get a confirmation email. Let me just jump back in the deck here to show you. You will get this confirmation email here that you see on the right that says, hey, welcome to RHOADS, your pathway to certification. And then it'll include a link to this slide deck that I've shared with you today.
All right, just one final question. Can you register even if you're not ready to complete certification? Yes, you can register, but you're not going to be able to submit an application. So we prefer, again, reach out to us offline. We can help you get ready to apply, but certainly we're not preventing anyone from registering within the system. It just might be easier for you to wait until you feel ready for certification, so that way you don't have to make adjustments. Yep, and then somebody asked, there's no certain order you need to submit your policies in, just as long as they're all covered. Yes, Jake showed you that bingo card. You can upload them in whatever order you wish, just as long as you fill out that bingo card and each policy is submitted. And the system will give you that little tracker of how close you are to having all of your policies submitted.
Yep. All right, well, thanks everyone.
Okay.
I'm sure this isn't the last one we'll ever do, so we'll see you next time.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you, Jake. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thanks, guys.